politics has to do with the reason why Shostakovich is now listened to in a new way.
If somebody wants to enjoy something very special, very multi-style music, he will find it there.
In the middle there's a lot of darkness and a lot of sarcasm and a lot of drama.
Actually, I would like to meet him after the cycle coming, like talking a little bit about the music and life.
I think these Shostakovich string quartets are maybe a music that is the most of all music literature that is completely connected to the time and place that it was written. So I think the symphonies of Shostakovich are very often describing kind of the national diary of the Soviet Union, you know, with symphonies like the Leningrad Symphony and Babi Yar. So they kind of commemorate or describe national moments. But the string quartets are really almost like a personal diary. So first of all, to listen to the quartets chronologically from beginning to end is an amazing experience because it's almost like a biography, an autobiography of Shostakovich.
This is the most difficult thing in Shostakovich music, that it's exactly when it sounds happy, it's actually with there's a lot of pain, and vice versa, that it sounds a lot of pain and drama, but there is an inner light of hope coming out of this. And this is very difficult to show in his music. I think, it's DNA, I don't know if it's a really DNA, but since three of us originally were born in the former Soviet Union, Sasha and Sergei were originally from Ukraine, I was born in Belarus, and the whole educational system, in educational music, educational system, Shostakovich was a really huge part. We feel that this music is very close to us. It's very close to our understanding and our mentality. Many places and moments in Shostakovich music that has kind of mask or double meaning, we feel it very closely and very clearly what does it mean. That's I feel personally, that we can kind of discover and understand this music. So that's what we mean by saying that it's part of our DNA, which we brought it with us since a very, very early age.
So we started the program from Quartet number 2, the only quartet which was written during the Second World War in 1944. It does not have a direct connection by character with the war, but it's one of our favorite pieces, and the quartet which is not played so much, so often. And it has 4 movements, so kind of a very classical approach, but it has very unique movements. So first one is kind of overture. It's called overture, so it's kind of has a lot of folk tunes in it, and it's kind of straightforward movement and has kind of quite direct, I think, in the character. Starts very folky, but then becomes quite aggressive, and it has a very good portion of character changes and contrasts. And then the second movement, which is called recitativo and romance. This is a very unique movement. Well, first of all, personally for me, it's like a violin concerto, and three of my colleagues are keeping just the harmony, just separated chords, and I have, well, it's kind of improvisation, but it's a prayer. And the third movement, I think one of our also favorite movements, it has this mystic waltz, very fast, very dramatic, very modern and harmonically as well, and it's all muted and very soft.
Ghostly.
Yeah? It's very
very ghostly.
Yeah.
It's like a waltz from the past,
Yeah.
from the good times, which people kind of remember. Typical Shostakovich double meaning, like showing one thing with the same time with the other things, like missing the peaceful time, which, like, let's say before the war, and since it was written during the war, it's kind of missing the good times, but with the feeling that horror of now, peaceful and scary in the same time.
And I think that's a true genius of Shostakovich. And in this quartet, because the first quartet is not exactly like this, but in the second quartet it really comes together. And this is really his genius, that he could master writing a fugue, he could master writing sonata form, he could master writing counterpoint, he could had the kind of courage to actually write music which is almost no music at all. And silence sometimes. And I think the courage to put it all together into something is really the mark of a true genius. And he's really, I think, in the second quartet starts to show himself as really a giant of classical music.
After this, starting from this quartet number 7, that you feel the very pure motive through some already pain that you went through after you heard this motive. Yeah, so you feel this there is a waltz based on some very pure motive, but you feel all the pain inside. The quartet length is very short, like 15 minutes, and you have all aspects of emotion starting from childhood. But through this, it's a lot of drama and emotions in a very, very short time, which is, for me, it's very, very impressive.
Every quartet is a universe on its own. He had so much courage to just try something new. And very often he takes from previous quartets ideas or previous pieces ideas and uses them, but always in a different context and always in a new way. And And the seventh quartet is like Sasha said, I think, is the center of the cycle. It's amazing how he just does something completely new, you know.
And also he goes personally because it's dedicated to his wife, and also he switched from his harmonic pattern. Suddenly he goes to this, what is F sharp minor, which was should not be the next quartet. And number 6 is the most kind of, for me, it's a spring quartet. After Stalin death, it's, you know, it feels like, you know, you can just breathe again. And number 7 is suddenly short, and somehow to put all his ideas in the strongest message in the shortest piece.